Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to take a look at these Starman Compendiums. This is Compendium 1 and Compendium 2, which just came out today. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. We're going to take a look at these Starman Compendiums. This one's been out for a while. This one came out today on Wednesday when I'm filming it. It'll be up a little bit later in the week, so you can know if you see it, you can go out and get it. Here's a spine. Obviously, you will note these are paperback sized. These are trade paperbacks. This is the same size as the Sweet Tooth Compendium, and yes, the second volume is shiny, and the first volume is not. So there's the spines. Pretty nice looking presentation. So this contains everything Starman ever, basically. Let's go through what's in them. I've never read Starman, which is why I picked these up. And Starman has been out of print for a long time. I remember when I was in college 15 years ago, people were talking about Starman having a hard time finding the old original trades. And then they had the Starman omnibuses that came out, which were basically like collections of 12 issues. And I think there were a couple of those in hardcover that came out. I'm not sure if there were softcover versions, but ultimately we now have these two volumes. I guess DC was seeing the success of the Invincible compendiums and said, hey, let's do that. We can fit everything in two volumes. So they did that. And I didn't realize how much was in the first volume because I didn't really page through it, but I paged through this, especially the table of contents here, and I was like, holy cow, that's a lot, right? So Starman ran for, I believe it was 80 issues. So you got 80 issues across both these books, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And most of it's written, I believe all of it's written by Robinson. You got David Goyer on the second one over here. Lots of art by Tony Harris. I don't think he's the only one. He looks like he leaves somewhere after volume 1, volume 2. But yeah, lots of help here. So let's look at what's inside first. I think it's on the back. And we'll talk about how this is a pretty good way to read these. So this contains Starman 0 through 42, and I believe I could be wrong. I believe Starman started as like a 0-hour spinoff, maybe. During that time in the mid-90s, Starman Annual, so 0 through 42, the regular series, Starman Annual 1 and 2, Starman 80-page Giant number 1, Starman Secret Files and Origins number 1, and The Power of Shazam 35 to 36. That's probably a crossover, right? Also stories from Showcase 95 number 12, Showcase 96, 4, and 5, and The Shade 1 through 4. I remember hearing about this Shade miniseries on the Comic Geek Speak podcast a long time ago. And now let's look at Starman Compendium 2. So you might be going like, well, Compendium 2, that's probably just the last 80 issues, or last 40 issues, right? You would be wrong. Holy cow, look at this thing. It's massive. Here's some covers on the back here. You've got Starman 43 through 81. So 81 is the Blackest Night issue that came out 10 years ago. Starman 1 million. And also features All-Star Comics 80-page Giant number 1, JSA All-Stars number 4, Starman The Mist number 1, and Stars and Stripe number 0. Also included is Starman's Revisit to Starman's World and Starman Congarilla number 1, and The Shade 1 through 12, plus Batman Hellboy Starman 1 and 2, illustrated by Mike Mignola. That's pretty fucking cool that the Hellboy stuff is in there, I gotta say. Also, The Shade 1 through 12, that is this stuff right here. I believe it's got a different artist every time. You get Fraser Irving. You had Cully Hamner. This looks like Marcos Martin. Or Javier Pulido, excuse me. But yeah, so this is the Shade 1 through 12 is like a more recent, I don't know if it's like pre-New 52 or right in the middle of DCU, somewhere in the last 5 or 6 years. I guess there was 12 issues. So this is what made everybody famous. You got Tony Harris on art for most of these issues. Let's page through these here now. And then Tony Harris goes on from here, I guess, to do some other things. And then he goes on Ex Machina, blows up from there. Pretty much from Starman, I believe, though. And then what is he? I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know if he fell down the Comics Gate rabbit hole. Hopefully he didn't. Or if he's doing his own independent stuff. If he's working for a movie theater or movie studio doing storyboards. Who knows? But yeah, all James Robinson written. All Tony Harris, I believe, in most of this first volume. I have paged through this a little bit, but I was trying not to get spoiled or anything. So I can't tell you about the contents or who's in here. I do know that I believe this guy's name is Jack Knight. He's the son of the original Starman or something like that, and he gets passed down. He's kind of a reluctant superhero. And Starman, the end of Volume 2, here's another... This guy was in James Robinson's Justice League run right before the 52, I believe. If that's the same guy, McCall, Starman. Or maybe, I don't know if that's Shade the Changing Man. I have no fucking clue. Again, haven't read any of this stuff. But yeah, this goggles look is kind of cool. I think this is the Shade, right? So you got some JSA characters in here. Lots of old school DC goodness. You know, 0 Hour, mid-90s comic books. So you have some captions, not a ton of, this is like the word balloon list time. Or not word, but thought balloon list time. It doesn't really exist. Stuff like that. It looks like Wesley Dodds makes an appearance. Golden Age Sandman. But yeah, this looks... I've read Ex Machina, and I really enjoyed Tony Harris's art there. And this looks like, the same quality. So I'm excited to read this eventually. I'm not sure. I have a couple of weeks off for Christmas, and I'm not sure if I'm going to start this, speaking of Santa, or dive into Invincible, or just keep reading the little small things I'm reading, crank those out. Yeah, there's McCall, I believe. The Shade number 1 right here. Boom. I wonder if this was the end. There's this Captain Marvel family. At that time, they were called Captain Marvel. I wonder if that was the end of that crossover or not. Looks like more Shade right here in the middle. Got some other artists coming in here. Some pros. Oh, that's interesting. Starman number 30. Hey, look, Alan Scott, Sentinel. That's his Sentinel costume before he went back to being Green Lantern when Jeff Johns took over the characters again. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe he did in the JSA stuff. I haven't read that yet. So I believe this can kind of serve as a precursor to Jeff Johns' JSA stories. It's got all these old Golden Age characters. Hey, look at Blue Devil. Golden Age characters, Firestorm here. And then Starman, I've flipped through the second volume a little bit. There's the the Bulleteer. Wow. I bet here's the Captain Marvel stuff, the crossover, Power Shazam. That's the Jerry Ordway written book at that time. Yeah, Etrigan, pretty neat. But it's got the covers and everywhere, which is nice. So it's kind of unlike the Spawn compendiums that Image is putting out. No extras, just straight up book, right? So let's get to volume 2. So yeah, they are different cover materials. This one is shiny and glossy, as you would call, and this one is more of a matte color or cover. The interior pages I believe are the same. Like I opened them up, they seem pretty close. Let's get them under the same light. A little bit. They feel pretty much the same. One may look a little bit more glossy to you, but they're not matte newsprint. That's the nice part about them. They are like the regular, what you would want to see in the trade paperback. Like DC's been doing a lot of newsprint lately, kind of newsprinty, thicker matte paper, and I kind of hate it. I kind of like this paper that they have here. So this is the conclusion of Starman. Was that the Mike Mignola stuff? Here's Gene Ha. There we go, right in the middle. That's interesting. Not at the end, but right in the middle. You got the Starman, Hellboy, Batman crossover. And I guess they can put that in here because it is 2 DC characters after all. That's pretty neat. Yep, 2 issues. Oh, here's new Starman coming in. Boom. Wow, look at that. That's a thick old issue right here. Man, it's got to be like 40 pages or something like that. Massive, massive story. But yeah, it looks like it lays over pretty nice. I gotta say, I will read these and let you know in the reviews eventually when I do them if they're good in terms of like holding up and stuff in terms of at least one read through. But it flopping over this nice is pretty cool. I like that. Doesn't seem like it's going to be too much of a pain to read. Although wordy, dense. Here's some booster gold here. Original Golden Age Starman. I don't know who those guys are, if they're the Coon or what. Stars and Stripe. So this is another story featuring Jack Knight, Starman. So yes, this is the Cosmic Rod. It eventually goes to Courtney Whitmore, who is Stargirl, and you got Stripe over here, and that is the Jeff Johns stuff that was written, and she eventually goes over to the JSA comic book. So all that stuff kind of takes place, I guess, somewhere in here, right? Towards the end of this. Here's 62. And I believe we're getting towards the end. I was flipping through it and I saw the Blackest Night issue, which was weird. So remember, Blackest Night was this event where they brought back a bunch of dead characters. And at the same time, they brought them back as zombies and stuff, right? At the same time, DC resurrected a bunch of dead stories, a bunch of dead books. You had Power of Shazam came back and featured like the characters as they were right there. Starman came back. Hawk Girl came back. Yeah, this is Starman Congorilla. I believe this is 81 right here. You got the Black Lantern Starman right here. Drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz and Fernando Dagnino is doing the layouts. But yeah. So there's the last page, but this is the cover to 81. So I guess something went wrong with Jax. You got Shade and original Starman coming back. Then we get to the Congorilla stuff. This is when James Robinson did Justice League right before that series ended. After this is the Metzler run. Brad Meltzer launched this one, and James Robinson kind of ran its course with it. And then here you have the Shade with the Cully Hamner art I was talking about earlier. This is a 12-issue series, and it looks like Cully Hamner does maybe the first couple, and then it seems to hand off to every artist after a little bit of that. So that looks like some Darwin Cook right there, which is nice. Yep, Darwin Cook. Inks by Jay Bone. Phenomenal. Can't wait to read that. And then here's Javier Pulido, we talked about earlier. Doing, it looks like 2 issues, maybe 3 through 7. Fraser Irving doing the last stuff. So I guess, yeah, if you're going to... I remember hearing about, don't know for sure, that the Shade is one of these characters in Starman that's, a great character, and it was really fleshed out in the run. So to have that wrap-up story be a part of this as well, of this compendium, I think is just really, really neat. So, I can't speak for the paper quality. If you want an omnibus, a hardcover omnibus, maybe in the future they'll come out as 2. But, I think the fact that they put out the second one to begin with, DC's put out so many, like, volume 1s of stuff and not followed through. The fact that they actually put out Compendium 2, gives me some hope for future compendiums like this. I do like this format. I think it's really neat. The Sweet Tooth one read very well. That was 35 issues, and this one's beefier. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing compared to that Sweet Tooth one, but I do like this format. So maybe they'll continue to do more compendiums. Maybe they'll do a hardcover omnibus of I'll probably just use this mapping, right? This is pretty thick as is. But I think it's pretty cool. So let me know what I'm going to miss if I don't read Starman very quickly. I'm excited to read them, and I will do videos on them if I get through it all. Good luck to me remembering everything. Holy cow, that's a massive, massive volume. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.